Hi, folks. We're Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining. Excuse me, this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about for any who've been through the divorce courts. This is probably going to be maybe not that unusual, but it's an ideological court and can arbitrarily decide whether or not it wants to make judgments based on facts and evidence or not. And it's become ideologically worse over time, and is absolutely stacked to the rafters with ideological fanatics, radical feminists, lesbians everywhere, and gender studies majors all over the place, and so on. People who genuinely believe that all straight white men are Nazis, and so on. So let's just have a look at this. This is one case. Now, I've come across quite a lot of these cases, actually, so I don't know how widespread it is, but where the children, either some or all of the children, are actually not the husbands or not the supposed father's children. Now, I guess there are certain circumstances which seem to crop up here, but what we're looking at is a guy who proved quite conclusively he was not the biological. They got divorced. It was not the biological parent, had no biological connection to the children whatsoever. He could nominate the person who was the biological parent, and yet it took him 12 years fighting in court for the right to not pay child support for children who were not his, and where the actual biological father was known to the court and to all the participants and to all the government agencies that were chasing him. Now, I guess what's interesting here is here's a private citizen who's committed no crime, but yet has the full force of government trying to crush them. I mean, this is not the guy's not guilty like January 6th or something. He's just a private citizen. And they're saying, we don't care that you're not the father of the children. We don't care that we know who the real person is. We're going to make you pay child support. And if you don't pay the child support, we will crush you. And we will use every arbitrary measure. We will operate outside the law. We will harass you. We will do everything we can to crush you. And we will put vast government resources into this of crushing you and making you pay. And if you refuse to do what we want, we will consider that to be defiance. And we will crush defiance. We will not have people defying us, this sort of thing. Or we not have straight white males defying us. But so it goes something like this. I just before I go on to that, I caught up with the guy recently, and not the first guy who's actually been in this situation. I've covered a few others. So it's probably far more widespread than we realise. Now, it's not necessarily cuckolding. It's I guess two things here. The guy's had some sort of medical situation, which is easily reversible, by the way, as he later finds out. But where he's sterile until he gets the medical procedure. Again, a fairly simple medical procedure, and he doesn't know it. Now he ends up getting together with a woman who typically wouldn't pick him as a partner, but she thinks, well, gee, he's on a good income, he's hardworking, he's reliable, he's honest, he's dependable, he doesn't gamble, he doesn't get wasted on drugs or something, he brings home his whole paycheck, he's a good, solid, reliable, dependable husband. If I'm going to build a family and have children, really, I need to accept that he's the sort of guy I'm going to have to do it with. It's no good me, wanting to go with those wild boys, out there. They may be fun and they may like living on the wild side, but in terms of a stable, reliable partner and with a steady, above-average income, they're hopeless. This guy, on the other hand, he's on a good income. So, he'll never be unemployed and so on. So she decides to get with this guy, then finds, they're trying to get pregnant, then finds that it's not, nothing's happening. And she doesn't know, is it her? Is it him? Is it something else? Is it their fucking diet or whatever? So she thinks, well, look, if I don't get pregnant, then he might leave me. So the way to put this relationship, if you like, to consummate it fully, to make sure it's really locked in tight, is to get pregnant. He's that sort of reliable, dependable, honest guy who, as soon as he finds out I'm pregnant, that's it. He'll be totally committed to me. He's a family man and so on. Maybe he's a bit boring. Maybe he's a bit irritating with his dependable, reliable, predictable habits and everything. But he's rock solid to build a family around. So she goes to maybe a former boyfriend or whatever, and she's, look, I need to get pregnant quickly, or maybe she doesn't even tell the other guy. So then he she gets humped by the ex-boyfriend, ever gets pregnant. The guy assumes it's his. The husband sort of assumes it's his. So fine, and then he talks about, well, I'd really like 2 children. So she doesn't want to tell him that okay, it's probably you, because now she can't, because she tells him he's sterile, and he says, well, where did that kid come from? So now she's locked into a course of action that she can't get away from. Maybe her conscience doesn't sit well with it, but now she can't get out. And on the other side, he's a reliable, above average income earning guy. He's dependable, brings his money home, spends it on her. I mean, you can't get better than this. Okay, if he's boring, he's fucking reliable. Jesus. She can have a good standard of living with this guy. So he talks about having another child. So she goes off and humps the other guy again, gets pregnant again, has a child. Let's fast forward a few years, and there's I think it's final year primary school or something. So it's moving on a few years. The eldest one is doing a thing about where in the world you come from, like as in your genetic spread, and so as part of that assignment or project, whatever it is, the fact they're doing at school, might have actually been first year high school. He does one of those things, I don't know whether you've heard of these like, DNA mapping things where you can give your DNA to these outfits and they'll come and say, well, you're from Northern Europe, or your genetic heritage is from here or there or wherever it might be, and you've got 50% Celtic or 90% black and so on. So they'll do all that sort of stuff for you. So now he'd already had one done on himself, just out of sort of academic interest, and as I understand, his sister, I think, was involved in it and talked him into seeing everyone done it. So he was quite surprised that when the kids came back, which is part of the school project, when the kids' DNA analysis came back, it had no resemblance to his, almost none. So he sort of, wow, that's weird. Anyway, they divorced not that long afterwards, and so he, remembering this, decides to do DNA test on both the kids, and then he discovers they're not his. Okay, so he says he goes to the ex-wife and goes, well, look, I've had the DNA testing done. What's this? And instead of she admits it, says, yep, well, actually Billy Bob down the road's the guy, so that's it. You're not the father of the biological father of the children. So they go into court, and but instead of sort of saying, well, look, okay, Billy Bob down the road, there's the biological father. Instead, they go all ideological. The divorce courts go all ideological, and they say, well, look, did you ever think, this is to the guy, did you ever think that you were the father? Well, of course, the mother said that I was, and she assured me that she was having no other relationships, so I accepted her lies as truth. But doesn't matter whether they're lies, doesn't matter if she lied to you, doesn't matter whether she deceived you. Did you ever think that you were? Based on her lies, of course I did. Well, there you see, that really obligates you then to pay child support. It does. How? So he didn't accept that. He just wrote that off as as utter nonsense, which it is. I mean, it's a very ideological take on things. So that was their first sort of go. The second go, and he's kept copious records, by the way, including recordings and things like that. So the second go was then, well, okay, so you're not the father, but who cares? You know, do you love them? Do you want the best for them? So why don't you just forget that they're not yours and pay? And bear in mind, they're not only going after top dollar child support, the very maximum. They also wanted to pay for things like school fees and excursions and things like that. So they want child support plus plus. It's not just the child support, it's the plus plus. On top of that, she claims that she's not well and can't work, which means he has to then pay the total, which they accept without question, by the way. And then he's lumbered with the whole thing. Now, he's on a good income, but he works very hard. It's not like he's just a well-connected guy and gets cozy, well-paid gigs handed to him. He's a bright, hard-working sort of guy and you know, very sober in habit and all that sort of thing. So they then try that one. That's not going to wash. He's not having any of that, which rather annoys them from the looks of the paperwork going back and forth. But the third one they try is, well, look, the actual biological father has a much lower income and a much more checkered employment history. So he's often unemployed and this sort of thing. So the child support we can get out of you is sort of many times what we can get out of him. So given that you can pay more than he can, and given that you'll pay it more reliably because you've never been unemployed, you know, that type of thing, and then the court says to him, or the judge says to him, so we'll just take your money instead of his because we can gouge you for more than we can get out of him. That'll be better for the children because they don't have more money. So, okay, well, the more money bit, fine, I get that. But if that's the case, then why doesn't the judge pay it? Because the judge is on even more money again. Well, why don't you pay? If just getting money to the children is the issue, then you can pay it. Order that the government pays more. You know, they're like, well, why does it have to be this private citizen who's been lied to and cheated and deceived? And, you know, why is he suddenly responsible for carrying the can on this? So he rejects that, goes, no, that's it. Now, I mean, they then sort of try various threats and then say, okay, well, if you don't want to pay money, then you'll never see the children again. You know, suck on that motherfucker. Now, he doesn't want that because, I mean, certainly the way he spoke, I thought he was going to cry actually at one point. You know, his eyes got moist and the lips started to quiver and all that. You know, he wanted to see the children. And he was particularly close to one of them, you know, the eldest one. And but that didn't you know, he wasn't going to be blackmailed using the children as pawns of blackmail, which the government and the courts, by the way, are absolutely prepared to do if it's against the man, you know. But he wasn't going to allow that. And so, well, no, if you want to cut me off from seeing the children, then, you know, that's your choice. And he accepted that he had no real legal standing because he's not the biological father, and so he accepts that he has a reduced legal standing. But they still want to hit him up for the child support, and what in effect was alimony, by the way, given the extras they were trying to stick him for. So, but anyway, this toing and froing and so on, and the levels of harassment they went to attack this guy was quite astonishing, and the resources the government must have put into it, just trying to crush him and force him to pay, you know, forcing him to bend to their petty bureaucratic shithead will. But he fought it all the way. But he's fine, and in the end he's won, and he's recently won. But you know, I don't know what to say about these things. The way they treated him was abominable. The things they did to him, the illegal things, the you know, the fake filling out of, you know, the way they backdated forms, the way they, you know, outrageous perjury against him, the suborning of perjury, the fake reports they made about him, and things like this were absolutely, you know, unbelievable. I mean, it makes January 6th type of politicized justice look pretty tame compared to what they did to this guy. And over time they did it over. I mean, years they went after him and attacked him and used all sorts of trickery and treachery to nail him and to get him and so on. For again, a guy who's committed no crime. So So this fight, and he fought the good fight, and he's a bright guy, and he can stand there toe to toe with a lot of lawyers and everything. So, but the cost to him personally, I mean, fuck. I think in the end, this is my analysis. I think in the end they did destroy. Sure, he won, and he doesn't have to pay that money, but they spent vast sums and resources and that pursuing him and trying to crush him, and so he had to sort of stop work. He had to, for years he couldn't work because they would just take his money out of his salary, and he had to move back in with his folks and live in his childhood bedroom and this sort of stuff, and the toll it took on him personally. He's like a shadow of the guy that I knew from over 12 years ago. That vigorous sort of can-do, go-ahead guy, high achieving and so on. With, by the way, a very deep belief in justice and the government and the democracy. He believed intensely in all of these things. Now he believes in none of it, and it's like he sees that all of it was a lie. He's lived a lie all this time. That in fact the government was always against its citizens, or certainly is now. So this sort of husk of a guy, I don't know. I don't think he's got a. I hope he now it's over. I hope he manages to get his life back together again. I don't think so. Well, I don't know. It's possible. 12 years of his life is gone, and all of it was fighting his own government for being forced to do something which he never have been forced or required to do. And but there you go. He's won, but I would classify it as a Pyrrhic victory. The cost of winning has been so great that it's no victory at all. And particularly when you consider there's no penalty for the other side. It's not like they've learned a lesson or they have to pay his legal fees or they have to make restitution. It's none of those things. They can just walk off away and they can shrug their shoulders. Oh, well, we didn't manage to crush that white guy. Where's the next straight white guy for us to crush? Oh, that one, right? And then they just keep right on going. They don't even miss a beat. But him, the cost of him fighting them, and I look at it in I was, as he was talking to me, I was looking at in sort of the wider sort of more universal sense of things. Of what if he just agreed to pay? Just okay, fine. If that's what you want, I'll do it. And he kept his jobs, and so his career continuity and this sort of thing. Then, in the overall scheme of things, he'd be better off today than he is. Financially, he's been pretty much destroyed, really. So, would he be better off if he'd gone along with it and just done what they demanded and accepted their privations, gone on his knees and grovelled and begged, and could he'd have been better off? Well, there's no question he'd be better off financially. And I kind of did just some quick sums before I did this arithmetic. Before I did this this video, and looked at the sort of money he'd been making and over that time. Now he'd have probably made ballpark in salary over somewhere around over that 12 years, somewhere around $3 million. That would have been. I mean, you got to then take tax and stuff out of that. So that would have been his income over that time, and so he'd own property and this sort of thing. And then if you look at the money he'd have had to pay over that time, it would have been, say, 40% of his net income. So say out of that, say 1.5 million would have been his net amount. That's like after tax. And then he'd have had to pay, say, 600, and thinking of the school fees, between $600,000 and $700,000 he'd have had to pay to his ex-wife. Now, there's no guarantee she would spend all or any of that on the children, but anyway, they may have allowed him to see them, but then they may not have. So what were his options really? To be royally and viciously screwed over, that he works hard in a high stress job for really not getting anywhere, just managing to sort of hang on. Or does he say, no, you're not going to screw me. And if you want to screw me over, you must do so in full recognition of all my legal rights. And if in order to screw me, you want to take away my legal rights, which is what they were doing to him and did do, then I'm not going to play ball. Fuck you. Now, each case sort of has its each situation or any direct. I mean, he was fucked either direction he went in once he's caught up in that. But what would have been the proper way of dealing with it? I don't know. I admire him for fighting the good fight and for finally winning and seeing it through. But I see the cost of it. I knew him before this, so I can see the terrible price he's paid. And is his victory really a victory at all? And I'll be interested in your comments. You've been a task us today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.